today in class is first of all a review, because I know it's been a long time since we had our last class. So first thing is doing a review. I'm going to show the presentation that we've seen. We've finished with all digestion, and we're going to work with the digestive system worksheet. So if you've got the your book and your photocopy next to you, it's going to be useful for today's class. Better if you have it. Let me share my screen. I guess that everyone can see it. What you're seeing right now is your virtual class, that it works better than it did yesterday. And I wanted to show you the virtual class because, as you know, in Unit 4, you've got all the contents that are included in this unit. We've seen almost everything in the digestive system. Sorry. Ay, que nos hemos ido. We've seen almost everything on the digestive system, and we've got to see the respiratory system next week, as soon as we finish with this. Vamos a tener que entrar otra vez, porque esto es lo que le cuesta, al salir volver a entrar. Vaya, no quiere. Bueno, presentation. The presentation that we were seeing on digestive system, which is the one that I wanted to show you, includes all the components, all the parts of the digestive system, including the digestive tract, the digestive tube, which is all this long tube, and also the accessory glands. We saw everything that happened in each part of the digestive tube, mechanical and chemical digestion in the mouth, no digestion in the pharynx and esophagus, but very important in the pharynx, the epiglottis, and very important in the esophagus, the peristaltic movements. Then again, mechanical and chemical digestion in the stomach, and chemical digestion in the small intestine, and at the end, large intestine doing the final absorption and defecation in the anus. We saw everything in class, so you're supposed to know everything from this digestion. You've got it in your book from pages 37 to page 41. But if you've got any doubt, it's time to ask it. So right now, if anyone has any doubt on any part of the digestion, ingestion included that happens in the mouth, or mechanical and chemical digestion, or the absorption, any doubt that you've got? No? Okay, we'll do the activities, and while we are doing the activities, if any other doubt comes out, you can just stop me and I will answer it. Okay? Well, first of all, that's the photocopy that you had. Okay, and we didn't do activities number 1 and 2. You don't have them. I didn't ask you to do them, but it's important that you understand them. So I would like some volunteers to answer. First of all, what is digestion for you? If I don't have any volunteer, you know that I'm going to find it. So it's better if it's your own decision. What is digestion for you? Any volunteer that wants to say what is digestion? What does digestion consist on? No volunteers. Adrian, you're the first one in my list. So Adrian, please. What is digestion for you? You can do it with your microphone, or if you, in case you don't have it, you can do it in the chat, just writing down. I write it. Okay. Digestion. What is digestion for you? If you had to say one term, one very important term. I would say it in four words. The verb, the important verb in digestion is, what do you do when you do digestion? Digest, okay. Another one. What is digest? Imagine I don't understand digest. What do I ingest and why? When I ingest, when I take, what am I taking? If anyone else wants to help him, I'm taking food and I'm transforming food into nutrients. Thank you very much, both of you. I'm transforming food into nutrients. So that could be a very simple definition for digestion. Just transforming complex food that could be solid food, transform it into simple nutrients that could be, the other verb is absorbed by blood. Okay, so that could be a definition. Digestion refers to the breakdown of food, the transformation, making it more simple, the breakdown of food into smaller components that are the nutrients, because those smaller components can be absorbed into the bloodstream, can pass to bloodstream. So as you can see, there's many different ways to define it. You don't have to memorize it. You can use this one, but you can just say that you transform food into nutrients so they can be absorbed into blood, into the bloodstream. Okay, that could be a good definition for digestion. You can write it down in your question number 1 in your photocopy. Digestion refers to the breakdown of food into smaller components that can be absorbed into the bloodstream. That could be one way to define it. Okay, any doubts? No doubts. So we go to the following one. Let's see if you were paying attention, because I showed you the answer for this one. This one is going to go to Adriana, which is the next one. Adriana is the next one in this list. So Adriana, what do you think about the second question? The tube that connects the mouth to the stomach. Well, that's an easy one. You just have to look at the picture that you've got in page number 38. You've got the picture, the diagram on the digestive system, and your answer is the esophagus, which is letter A. So that's the right answer. The tube that connects the mouth to the stomach, that's the esophagus. The third one, which part of the digestive system is more or less 21 feet long? 21 feet long is more or less 6 meters and a half. So from 6.5 to 7 meters, which part of the digestive system am I referring to? And this question goes to Angel. Angel, which is the tube that is more or less 7 meters? Is it the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, or maybe the large intestine? Is the small intestine. Perfect. The esophagus is just 25 centimeters long. The stomach is smaller. Is the small intestine the one that is 6.5, 7 meters long? And the large intestine is shorter, because remember that large means very big, but not very long. It's not the same. Okay, and small means very thin, but is long. Is not as synonym. Which part of the digestive system can stretch and get bigger? What's the one that has this very important movement? Well, in this case, this answer could be many different possibilities there because all of them do it, all of them contract and relax, but the one that does it in a more important way, Ariadna, is which of those? The esophagus, stomach, the small intestine or the large intestine, which one is the one that contracts and gets bigger in a more important way? Well, you said the large intestine. I do not agree. All of them, as I said, all of them do it because the esophagus has these peristaltic movements that send the food bolus down. The small intestine also has the peristaltic movements that send the chyle. It's not food bolus anymore, but it's chyle, the one that is passing. And also the large intestine has peristaltic movements to send feces out. But the one that gets bigger and the higher the amount of food, the bigger the size, is the stomach. It does get bigger and it also contracts in order to send the chyme out. Okay, so the answer for this one, which part of the digestive system can stretch and get bigger, the answer is the stomach. Okay, next one. The part of the digestive system that uses acids to break down food, well, maybe Ariadna, you can answer this one as well because you didn't get yours right. Which one is the one that uses acid to break down food? Is the stomach again. Okay, so two answers with the stomach. This one, the stomach uses the acid in what we call the gastric juices. The gastric juices contain this acid that is very important for three different reasons. The first one is that is going to kill dangerous bacteria that could be included in my food. And the second one is that is going to help dissolving my food, so transforming it into liquid, transforming it into the famous chyme. But it's also important, this acid, because the enzyme that is doing chemical digestion in the stomach, that is, any volunteer that remembers the name of the enzyme in the stomach? The pepsin, perfect. The pepsin, that is the enzyme that works in the stomach, that is acting over proteins, only acts if the pH is low, if it's acid. So this acid is very important for these three reasons. Nutrients in the small intestine get into bloodstream. This one is very easy. And this one that is very easy goes to, Carmen already answered one, so Claudia. Claudia, this one is yours. Nutrients in the small intestine get into the bloodstream by the process of absolution, abstraction, abrasion, absorption. Not very difficult. Pablo Quiles nos ha abandonado. Absorption. Okay, that's not the right spelling, but it's okay. It's this one, absorption. Okay, that's the right one. And the last one is the solid waste that is left over after all food is processed. So all food is processed, all the nutrients have been absorbed, and then where is the remainings of food in this moment when all the food, all the nutrients, have been absorbed? Where is it? And the question goes to Diego. Ángel nos dice algo. Diego, where is all food stored? before being sent out? Is it in the esophagus, stomach, small intestine, or large intestine? It's in the large intestine. Vale. Dile que le espero, que no pasa nada. Que ahora cuando pueda. Okay. Well, question number 3 in your photocopy is not done either, but it's just a diagram that shows the path of food through the digestive system. Well, we did something similar, and I think it's already corrected, but we did it in activity. We did it in activity number 15, something similar, but we can repeat it, okay? So, because we just have to do the diagram, we don't need to make a picture of every organ, and the answer would be something similar to this. You've got all the answers, right answers there, and that would be the answer for this activity. What is the diagram showing all the path? Well, this one includes everything. Is the mouth. From the mouth, food goes to the pharynx directly, being pushed by the tongue. Remember, that pushes the soft palate. Then it gets into the pharynx. In the pharynx, the epiglottis prevents it from going to the respiratory tract, and it goes directly to the esophagus. In the esophagus, the peristaltic movements send it to the stomach. Remember, the first opening is the cardias, the last opening is the pyloric sphincter, the pylorus. Then from the stomach, it goes to the small intestine. The small intestine is divided into 3 parts. The first 20 centimeters are the duodenum. Remember, this C shape is the duodenum. We've got it in the presentation. This first part, that one, just this part, is the duodenum, the one that is behind the transversal column. This one is the duodenum, just these 20 centimeters, and the rest of the small intestine, 6.5 meters, is divided into 2 different parts that are the jejunum and the ileum. So all that is the small intestine. From the small intestine, the remainings of food go to the large intestine, and in the large intestine we've got 3 regions: the cecum, the colon, and the rectum. But we can also divide the colon depending on the path that is food following there. So we've got ascending colon, transverse colon, and descending colon, and then the sigmoid colon. I'm going to show it to you in the picture. Okay, so that would be the same as large intestine up to there, and at the end we've got the anus at the end of the rectum. Let me show you all these parts there. It would be the cecum is this part in which I find the appendix. The cecum in humans is a very short region, but is longer in herbivore animals. In the cecum, in herbivore animals, we find those bacteria that are able to digest cellulose. We cannot digest cellulose. So if you eat any cellulose, this material containing cellulose will be sent out. But in the case of herbivores, they do digest it. They do it because they have bacteria living in the long cecum that will do the digestion of this cellulose, but we don't. Then we've got the colon. Colon is all that up to this part, up to this part. So because it has an ascending, a transverse, and descending, and one that is curved, this is the sigmoid. Okay, ascending, transversal, descending, and sigmoid, and the last part is the rectum. that ends up in the anus. Okay, so those are all the components of the digestive tube. It would be the digestive tube, because food goes through the digestive tube. What are the other organs that are part of the digestive system, but they are not part of the digestive tube? Well, again, I've got here one volunteer that is going to answer that. Diego, ya me has contestado, ¿verdad? Diego ya me ha dicho el large intestine. So the next one is Elisa. Elisa. A ver qué me ha dicho. Can you repeat the question? Yes. What are the other components of the digestive system? Yes, you do. At least those activities that we are doing right now. You just have to copy them as I'm saying the answers, okay? Because I will ask you for this as your notebook this unit. Okay, you've got all the activities there. Elisa, the question, yes, that's right. The question was, what were the other components? The accessory glands. Can you name at least one of them? One accessory gland in the digestive system. The pancreas is one. Another one is the liver, and the other is in your mouth, the salivary glands, okay, in your mouth. So those are the other three that are part of the digestive system, but they are not part of the digestive tube. Perfect. Well, that's activity number 3, and the following activities, you already have them in we've already done them and we've already correct them. I'm going to launch this photocopy anyways with all the answers in the virtual class, okay? But you're supposed to have this activity number 4, that is supposed to be activity number 5 then. Igual están mal puestos los números. All that has already been corrected in class. I would say up to this one. That's the last one that we've corrected, I think, in which I was asking you for a flow chart relating these 3 terms, the bolus, the chyme, and the chyle. Remember, these 3 terms are very important in this unit, okay? As soon as food gets into your mouth, it's going to be transformed into the food bolus. Who is doing this job? Transforming food into the food bolus is your teeth and the salivary glands, the saliva produced by the salivary glands, but of course being helped by the tongue that is moving that food. So you've got the food bolus inside your mouth already, and this food bolus will go to the pharynx and then to the esophagus. When it arrives in the stomach, this food bolus will be mixed with one type of liquid. What's the name of the liquids that are produced in the stomach? Esther, what's the name of the liquid that is produced in the stomach? Esther, ¿está usted por ahí? No answer. Inés. Sí, que ha llegado algo. Esther, can you repeat? Yes, what's the name of the liquid that is produced in the stomach? The question goes for Esther and Inés, you both, the one that has it first. The liquid in the stomach. In the pancreas, we produce pancreatic juices. What is the name of the liquid that is produced in the stomach? Starting with G. Esther, Inés. We are waiting for you. Gastric juices. Gastric juices, okay. Gastric juices, Inés can't write, okay. And she can't either speak. Doesn't have a microphone, doesn't have, okay. Gastric juices, I would say that they contain an acid that is going to activate the enzyme that was pepsin, okay? That's the, so these gastric juices transform the food bolus, also helped with the movements of the 3 layers of muscle in the stomach. They transform it into chyme, and the chyme goes through the pyloric sphincter into the small intestine. In the small intestine is going to receive liquids from 3 organs. Remember this very important picture here. This very important picture here shows how the chyme, that is acid, will go to the duodenum, and in the duodenum I don't only have the chyme, but I'm going to receive as well the bile coming from the liver, pancreatic juices, and also intestinal juices produced in the intestine. So I'm going to have these 4 important liquids: chyme, bile, pancreatic juice, and intestinal juice, all in the same place. They are going to work. The bile is going to emulsify fats. Remember this important verb, emulsify fats. What it's doing is making big droplets, transforming big droplets of fats into tiny droplets of fats. So it's easier to attack them, to digest them. That's the mission of bile, emulsifying fats. Apart from these bile emulsifying fats, the chyme will be attacked with pancreatic juices and intestinal juices. Well, if you go to your book, page number 40, in your book, in page number 40, you've got that this pancreatic juice and intestinal juice contain 3 very important enzymes. I would add a 4th one. In your book, you've got lipases. Lipases. Después de Inés está Juan Luis, ya me ha dicho algo, así que Liu, lipases, what do you think is the mission of one enzyme that is known as lipases? What is the mission of lipases? What is the chemical reaction that they help? Liu tampoco puede escribir. They break lipids, okay, into fatty acids and glycerol, so they digest lipids. That is one of the enzymes that I'm going to have acting in the small intestine, produced by the pancreatic juices and the intestinal juices. Then I've got peptidases. Peptidases have another important mission, that is acting over peptides. But the question is, what are peptides? Any volunteer? Because that's a difficult question. What are peptides? Ángel se atreve. They are short. Ángel está contándome otra cosa. This is exercise 3. Bueno, this is a review. Estamos dando una vuelta para todo. Short chains of amino acids. Thank you. Short proteins. Okay, short chains of amino acids. Perfect. So, peptidases are the enzymes that work finishing the job of pepsin in the stomach. Sorry. So peptidases, they also work in the small intestine. Then I've got amylases working again. Amylase is a famous enzyme, one that was also working in your mouth. So Luis, amylase that works in the mouth and also works in the small intestine has an important mission. What is the mission of this amylase? It's not breaking lipids, it's not breaking proteins. What is the molecule that amylase breaks? Luis está por ahí. If any other could help him. What is the molecule that amylase, famous amylase, breaks down? He can't write. And what about you? What is the molecule that amylase breaks down? Is carbohydrates. Perfect. Thank you very much, Olmo. It's complex carbohydrates, one that is known as starch, that is almidón in castellano, that we find it in cereals, pasta, bread, and so on. So amylase works again there, and I said that I was going to add an extra enzyme because in pancreatic juice we also have disaccharidases. Disaccharidases. Any idea for this enzyme? What is the molecule that they break down? Of course, it's going to be disaccharides that are carbohydrates with only 2 monosaccharides, so simple carbohydrates. And having that, once we finish this digestion, we've got in the intestine simple fatty acids, glycerol, amino acids, and monosaccharides. So we've already finished the digestion of all food there in the small intestine. Once we have these liquids, en el 14 estábamos, fíjate si habíamos avanzado. Once we've got these liquids, that is not liquid with complex nutrients, but is liquid with simple nutrients. That is the most important difference between the chyme and the chyle. The chyle is in the small intestine and it contains simple nutrients. Once we've got this liquid with simple nutrients, those nutrients are going to be absorbed. Where are they absorbed? They are absorbed in the small intestine, and they are easily absorbed thanks to these 3 structures. The first one is folds. Folds is just that the inner part of the tube has a layer that moves up and down, and this is visible with your naked eye. Remember, naked eye es el ojo desnudo, a simple vista, que decimos en castellano. So visible with your naked eye, we've got these folds. Then if you look at it with a magnifying glass, you're going to see that those folds have these tiny hairs, ¿vale? Esto es como los felpudos esos de plástico. All this structure has those structures that move up and down. They are called villi. Thanks to folds, I increase the surface of absorption 3 times. Thanks to villi, 10 times. And inside each villi, what I have is a lymphatic vessel. It's called lacteal, but it's just a tiny lymphatic vessel that is going to receive fats, because fats are bigger. And I also have capillaries that are going to receive amino acids and monosaccharides. They will pass directly to the capillaries. And they do it because these layers, they do it easily because these layers that with a magnifying glass seem to have rectangular cells lining them. In fact, those rectangular shape cells have this brush border, borde en cepillo que se dice, brush border, that increase the surface of absorption 20 times. So with all those 3 structures, very important structures in the small intestine, the chyle will have no useful nutrients, and because it's a liquid with no useful nutrients, we call it feces. And they go to the large intestine. They go there through the ileocecal valve. That is this valve there. Un segundito que se está animando mi casa. Voy a cerrar la puerta. Que igual ya oíais regular. ¿Se ha oído bien lo último? Sí, sin problemas, ¿no? ¿Habéis dormido todos ya? Digo yo que oís. Tendré que llamar al siguiente. A ver, ¿qué me dice Rodrigo? Sí, se ha oído. Rodrigo, ¿quiere usted decir algo que ha subido la mano o ha sido un error? Ha debido ser un error. Bueno, so activity number 14 is one of those that we had already correct. And then we've got activity number 15 that was one of your homework, was it? Was it part of your homework, activity number 15? ¿Estábamos ahí o no? A mí también se me ha olvidado. Qué activos estáis, ¿eh? Estáis despiertos, despiertos. Solo quiero un sí o un no, no es tan largo. Did you have to do activity number 15 for homework or was it already corrected? Yo lo tengo hecho. ¿Y corregido? Es que los números están cambiados, ¿verdad que sí? Eso es lo que me temía yo, que teníais un número de más. Bueno, dice, explain what absorption in the digestive system means. Okay, well, I have a very simple, voy bajándolo para allá para que no veáis. I've got a very simple definition here. Absorption could be defined as the process by which simple molecules that result from chemical digestion, we can use one word to say that. Simple molecules that result from chemical digestion. Y como vais mejor, si os voy uno por uno, pues teníamos por aquí que Mar nos va a contestar algo. Mar, can you give me one term to say simple molecules that result from chemical digestion? Todo eso, those 7 words, you can use just one to define. They are the substance that pass through cell membranes of the lining in the small intestine into blood or into the lymphatic capillaries. So what's the name of those simple molecules that result from chemical digestion? Mar, ¿está usted ahí? Simple molecules that result from chemical digestion. That's the same as starting with N. Any other volunteer that wants to answer? Simple molecules that result from chemical digestion. They are the famous okay, simple nutrients. That's right. So simple nutrients are absorbed in the intestine. But the thing is that you shouldn't use the verb absorb in order to define absorption. So it's better if you say absorption is the process by which simple nutrients pass to blood or maybe pass to the bloodstream in the intestine, better than saying absorbed, okay? But it's perfect. That is the term absorption, the definition of absorption. So those simple molecules that result from chemical digestion is nutrients, and they pass through the cell membranes to blood in the case of amino acids and monosaccharides, or lymph capillaries in the case of fatty acids. Because they are bigger, they need to get through the lymphatic capillaries that we'll study in the following unit, okay? The lymphatic system and the lymphatic capillaries. We've got an interesting question here, and is why can you survive without a stomach, but you cannot survive without a small intestine? I said that this is an interesting question because it's good that you know that patients that suffer stomach cancer, they could receive a surgery, se les puede operar, they could receive a surgery and they could survive without stomach, okay? Sometimes during the surgery, they throw all the stomach away if it was very affected. Sometimes they just reduce it. You know that there's patient that voluntarily reduce the stomach in order to get thinner. But in the case of cancer, you can remove the whole stomach and the patient will survive. It's important that they can survive. But the question is, why can you survive without a stomach, but it's not possible to eliminate all the small intestine? If you don't have small intestine, you would not survive. Well, the answer would be more or less this, that the mission of the stomach is, well, the stomach has two very important missions relating to digestion, and it's that one of them is transforming solid food, the solid food bolus, into chyme. So if you cannot transform solid food bolus into chyme because you don't have stomach, what do you have to do? What type of diet should you follow? Can you eat any type of food? Maria, Miguel, do you think that patients with no stomach, they can eat any type of food? They can eat, but they don't eat any type of food. It's better if they eat small quantities, small amount, and it's better if you do it in a liquid state, because your food will go directly from the esophagus to the small intestine. So you need liquid food in small amounts, and then you're going to do perfectly the rest of the digestion, because remember, page number 40 said that in the small intestine, I'm going to be working with lipases, peptidases, amylases. So two things that your food should, two characteristic of your food. One of them is that it should be liquid. The other one, it shouldn't contain complex proteins because you're not going to have pepsin working so much. Okay, so as long as you take liquid meals in small quantities, then there would be no problem. Food will go from the esophagus to the small intestine when your stomach is removed, if you've received a surgery due to stomach cancer. Okay, so that's the reason that the mission of the stomach is to transform solid food into liquid chyme. So as long as you eat something similar to the chyme, this chyme could go to the small intestine to be transformed into chyle, which is the next one. Okay, remember this very important diagram. Chyme, chyle, feces. Very important. And another question. We've got 5 minutes, so we're going to do 2 more questions and that's it. Activity number 17, very easy. What does the large intestine do? Remember, in the large intestine, we had 3 regions that we had represented here. The cecum with the appendix, the colon, and the rectum. What is the mission of all this? Well, the most important mission of the large intestine. A ver cómo hacíamos esto. Rodrigo, ¿me has contestado algo al principio? Mónica, tampoco tengo nada tuyo. Mónica, Rodrigo, for you too. What is the most important mission of the large intestine? Is to storage and eliminate feces. Okay, so it's to storage and eliminate feces. But while we storage them, the large intestine is going to go on with absorption. It doesn't have all the structures, all the villi and microvilli that small intestine has. We don't have them in the large intestine, but the large intestine is going to absorb 3 important things. Any idea on the 3 things that are absorbed here in the large intestine? Water, very important. That's why if you retain feces for a long time, they're going to get harder and harder. That's constipation. Feces get harder and harder because your large intestine is absorbing water. It's also absorbing minerals and it also absorbs some vitamins. Okay, so that's the very important mission of the large intestine: absorb water, minerals, and vitamins in order to transform this chyle into those feces, and it stores them until the sphincter in the anus, that is a voluntary sphincter, opens and you send out all those feces. Okay, so last question and we finish the class. Is this one. Function includes absorbing that and the elimination of feces. Chemical digestion is completed in the small intestine, so there's no chemical digestion. That was the reason for this last part. There's no chemical digestion in the large intestine. There are lots of commercials on TV that advertise anti-acid products that are designed to reduce the stomach acid. What does the stomach acid do? we've already mentioned that this class, so you're going to have no problems on this one. It dissolves, the mission is to dissolve the food volus to form the chyme, activate pepsin, and it also kills dangerous bacteria. The problem is that if the mucose that protects the inner layer of the stomach is damaged, the acid could cause ulcers, but we'll talk about them the following class. So what is going to be your homework? Just activity number 19. I don't want you to do anything else. Bueno, supongamos que la 19 is the one that says list 3 organs to produce amylase, que no tengo muy claro que se hayan cambiado los números, ¿vale? The one that says list 3 whatever, 2 whatever, that's your homework for the following day, for tomorrow, ¿ok? Bueno, pues mucho gusto en estar con vosotros, ¿vale? Pasad una buena mañana. Bye bye.